Welcome to our second episode of Voices of Innovation podcast. Today I am sitting again, but now with the two brothers in studio, Mark and Brett. Today we'll be talking about the lessons, the ups and downs, just the roller coaster of entrepreneurship and starting Blue Label Telecoms. Welcome, Brett. Welcome, Mark. Welcome to the Ellis Cup too.
Our baby.
I'd like you to take us back on some of the major challenges that you faced, especially in the very early beginnings of starting Blue Label.
Okay, I think I'll kick off there. So I think the biggest challenge, of course, when you're starting is that no one knows who you are. No one knows what you're capable of. And actually, it's all about relationships in life. And relationships, in my opinion, take years. So I think when you're starting off, patience is a very important factor to everything that you do. And you know, when you're starting off, the last thing you have is patience. I think you learn patience as you mature along the way, as you get older. So it's that balance of being a little bit immature, not enough patience, and trying to find your own feet. So the start of it is really establishing it, understanding that things take time, building relationships along the way, and delivering on what you promise. It's not only price, you know, you always have conversations around price, but as things get bigger and as things get better, you find that price is of a lesser importance, always of importance, but lesser, and delivery and product service and customer service and of course relationships across the board play a major role.
And when did you realize that, okay, now our business needs to be scaled up? What were some of the pointers that came that, you know, made you aware that we need to scale?
I think we are fortunate actually in our life that we got into a good industry at the right time, and the industry was booming in its own right. So if we could deliver and we could change the perception of how people bought certain products, that we found ourselves in a good space. So I think innovation was a big thing. Surprised ourselves actually with the innovation we were coming up with in a lot of the things world leaders, as strange as that may sound, not only South African leaders in how a product would be delivered, what kind of product would be delivered. And I think you learn that it happens very quickly and you're not prepared for it. So you go and and everything seems smooth, and all of a sudden it's like bang, it's a lot all at once. And the secret is actually taking a step backwards, I think. Someone once said to me long ago, and I actually live by it today. I'm not so sure I lived by it when he told me. And that he said, if you take a number of balls and you throw them up in the air and you try to catch all of them, you're going to drop all of them. What you've got to do is throw all the balls up in the air because you're entrepreneurs, but you've got to take one out at a time, solve it, finish it, and then pull the second one out. And I think if you can do that throughout your not only business life, I think out of life, because life throws so many different challenges at you and your family, that if you just don't panic, something we're good at, and you just take it in your stride and one ball at a time, you eventually catch them all.
You spoke about family there. How did you, manage work-life balance as an entrepreneur? I mean, especially in the beginning, you're trying to hustle, get this business off the ground. How did you manage that? Is there such a thing as work-life balance, though?
I think that's a great question, by the way. And I think in my own life, I think the most important question, interestingly, because I think all of us get caught up. We either get caught up too much in business, and then you're not dedicating enough time to your family. You then have kids, and you're not dedicating enough time to watch them growing up. The reverse is maybe you get a little bit slack at work, so you dedicate too much, if that's a word that you can dedicate too much time to your kids and family, and it suffers then on the work side. And I think that's a time thing. I think with time you need an objective. Our objective was definitely to have a balance. You get a lot of people who don't want that balance, not good or bad. Their balance is much more towards work and less towards family. And it doesn't make it right or wrong. It's just where you choose your own path. Our path was definitely to balance the two out. It's a very difficult task. It's still a difficult task, by the way, because things are busy, things happen, and you try to make sure that what it is quality time on both sides. So I don't think it boils down to hours, and I don't even think it boils down to days. But if you get the quality of work time right and you get the quality of family time right, it feels forever on both ends of the stick. So it's something I think you work at forever. I don't think it ever ends as an entrepreneur.
Talking about family, Mark, I'm going to ask you this question. How is it like working with your brother?
Unbelievable.
God obviously had a good sense of humor when he put us together. No, it's been an amazing journey. I think I could only wish it amongst many to be able to celebrate the wins and actually have someone there for the losses who actually only want the best for you and for each other. And it's hard to understand if you're not wired that way, because a lot of people always want to be better or want more. We had a simple handshake deal from young that we'd split everything we do 50-50, except our wives, because we don't want two wives. But everything else is split 50-50, but not 50-50 mathematically, because Brett tends to drive fancy cars, so our deal is I think about them and he drives them. That was our 50-50
It's
split.
a great partnership.
But it's something that one should strive towards, is finding the ability to work with people who want the best for you, and also will never say I told you so. And we're lucky that as brothers, because people find it in friendships, in brothers we found that in each other, and it's not all smooth sailing. So in tough times, one of us are up, one of us are down, kick his ass, get up. When it's up, there's nothing better than having a blue label and a 5 centimeter together and celebrating those wins. So yeah, I think we're very lucky, and I wish that luck to anyone, to find a buddy, a friend, a brother who can share the trials and tribulations with.
And what Blue Label has become today, was that the vision from the beginning?
I think as entrepreneurs you always think big. I think you must think big. I think the scale of where Blue Label went, I think we'd be lying to say that we ever believed the scale. So I'm not quite sure what the definition is when you're starting off and you say I'm going to be the biggest. Then you become the biggest, or whatever you become, and all of a sudden I'm not quite sure it was the exact same thought that it was. But I think it's about big thinking. It's not necessarily the scale of the thinking, it's just big thinking as a whole. You know, you get different kind of people who run organizations, and different kind of people who take organizations to different levels, and you always need accountants and lawyers and salesmen, and you need strategically big thinkers, strategically conservative thinkers. So yeah, I think we always thought we could be the biggest. We always thought we could rule the world. We're not so ambitious anymore. We don't want to rule the world, that's for sure. And I think you just learn to be more content. You give it your absolute. And then the most important thing is be content with your lot in life. You make some great choices, and you make some bad choices, and you make some good decisions, and you make some bad decisions. It would be lovely if you only made great ones and only good ones and nothing went wrong, but that's just not how it is. I think the real secret is how you deal with the good and the bad. Meaning, don't get carried away when it's so good, because people tend to, and fight it when it's down. And it works on both ends of the scale.
A lot of entrepreneurs fail when it comes to managing finances. You know, we start with this vision and then we go out to get funding, and then now we are here. What advice would you give when it comes to entrepreneurs trying to scale up, especially the fundings, the finance stuff?
So we were lucky, both of us had good financial backgrounds. Mark by qualification, me by
spending qualification.
Me by street law, I guess you call it. So we are fortunate actually to have that, but entrepreneurs can have the best sales in the world with no back office, as you say it rightfully. So I think we were a little bit fortunate on that side. But I think the short answer of your question is never be afraid to employ the right people. Never be afraid to employ people smarter than you. Mark and I always joke that was an easy job for both of us, right? And never feel threatened where your position is. If you can get those three things right, part of it is the back office, which is an accountant. My recommendation is get your back office right first, then you build on, because you can sell everything in the world, but if you're selling it at the wrong price, problem. If you're selling it at the right price and not collecting your cash, problem. So the emphasis on good accountants and good clerks, like invoice clerks and so on, tremendously important. I know there's always this whole thing around entrepreneurs and the salespeople, but equally to accountants and the back office, they play a very important role.
So get the right people.
Get the right people.
Don't be afraid that you don't know something. You can actually get support from the right people. And now, when it comes to people, you know, you're an organization of over 1,000 people. How do you manage that? How, you know, you have to make sure that, do you have to know everyone? Do you have to, you know, you pass and we're like, you didn't greet us. Like, how do you,
you know,
deal with?
we often
Seriously, when did you start here?
we often joke and laugh about it because it is a sad reality of big business. I remember in our early days, we have this Madiba boardroom. And we used to call everyone in and have a drink with everyone in bonus time. There wasn't a person name we didn't know. And then one day you wake up and you like ships passing in the ocean. You see people and, can I help you? No, I've been here for 3 years. I work in this department. It is a sad reality of big business, whereby you start employing thousands of people. You know, we had a couple of thousand in the call center. You have cell C with hundreds, or at one stage thousands of people, and it's a lot of people. And I suppose our job is to try and know as many people, but realistically, it flows downwards. So we need to ensure we embed ourselves with our senior management, inculcate our culture into that management structure, and that needs to disseminate and flow downwards. But never be afraid to mix and mingle. So you'll see when we do celebrations or drinks, from the car washer to the CEO, we all eat and drink the same. So it's that flat structure that I would assume some form of humbleness throughout our organization, that no one's bigger than the game. And everyone, and you'll often hear us saying this, forms such an integral part in the solution, because a good way to explain it is the box packer thinks he's just a box packer. So what happens is you have a CEO who designs a product and a product team who build a product, and the sales force who goes to sell the product, and finally after 2 years of creation, 2 years of sales, we finally sell the widget. And what happens is the box packer doesn't pack it. And he leaves it behind, or he leaves out a part, and the 4 years of work go down the drain because it wasn't delivered on time, it was delivered incorrectly. And that's the importance of an organization, to understand how important every cog in the wheel is. And so it's our duty to try and learn more about people, but it's impossible when you've got so many moving parts.
Chatting to you guys, there's so much humility, you know, that I feel, and it's actually, it filters through to the organization. I love what you said, because I have to bear testament to that everybody does feel equal within the business. You don't feel like you're lesser than the other. So I'd have to really commend you on being able to filter that through. Now, I want to talk about the themes. You know, Blue Label, there's always a theme. Every year there's a theme. Who comes up with those themes and why?
Let's see the honesty.
So,
Let's see the honesty. I think it'd be interesting.
what I love about this is my favorite, is Mark comes up with 100% of them, and at the bottom he says, from Mark and Brett, and everyone phones me every week and every month, say, what a theme. I go, Agree. Mark comes up with all of them. I don't know where he gets the time. I don't know how he thinks about them. But I have contributed, I hope to
You're my
one,
inspiration.
maybe one. I'm trying to think. But if it is, it's not many.
So where it comes about is every year we write a letter to one or two of us just on where the year was and where it's going. And in that we try to theme what our views of the past and what our future looks like. And from that becomes a theme for the future year based on how we saw the past and how we see the future. So it comes out of more interactions. I know Brett laughs and says I come up with wording, but it's the interaction, the sharing of the past, the present and the future, which allows us to work out what we want to do.
You've also managed to create this environment where almost people want to think outside the box. What do you think that is? Is it because of who you are, your management styles?
Phew. It's a good question. I think it's the culture. We always say it's not the right or wrong culture. It's the culture we create. Brett made a joke. I told you in the time before, we always employ people smarter than us. If we had all the answers, then we don't need to employ people. The reality with life, it's evolving at such a quick pace that if we don't keep employing smarter, cleverer, innovative people, we will get left behind. If we don't listen more, we will get left behind. There's not a CEO in the world that has all the decisions. CEOs are good because they're able to collate, collaborate, and make a decision based on informed opinions.
Going back to talking about young entrepreneurs, when you started, there were probably times where you literally fell to the ground. How did you get up during those times?
I think it still happens, actually.
Because of our weight, it's harder to get up.
First of all, I think belief. Got to always believe in what you're doing. Second thing is, there are tough times. You've got to learn how to fight through tough times. I think that's actually one of our greatest strengths is we ride the good times with humility, actually, and I say that proudly. And we're really good to have in the corner through bad times because we boxers and we're good fighters. And I think that comes from three things. One, it comes from good people around you, friends and business. Very important. The second one it comes from is definitely a strong foundation at home in family. And the third thing, I believe it comes from religion. So it doesn't matter what religion you are. I think the belief that there's always something bigger than you will always keep humility, will always keep you grounded, and will always give you belief.
You have been fortunate to have each other, but have you had mentorship somewhere in your entrepreneurship journey that actually helped get you to the next level?
You know, by definition of mentorship, it's not the ability to follow people around and learn. I think our luxury and our fortunate ability was engaging with so many unique people and interesting people over our lives. From, you know, when we listed, we had Microsoft as a shareholder. You learn, they teach. Indirectly, it's a mentorship program. I think by definition, to go sit in a classroom every single week and get a mentorship, not for me. I like the mentorship in the learning in life, life's university.
But for me, there are a few names that stick out. Two specifically, Stephen Kosov, the ex-CEO of Investec. You know, really, when we were growing up in business, his brains and his loyalty to us was amazing. And the late Eric Ellerin, who just passed away recently, was our first partner, who really believed in the two of us. We're not quite sure even why, right? But we just walked in with a concept and he bought into it. And I think we learned a fortune from Eric and his, obviously the late Eric and his late brother Sid. So you definitely pick up from a lot of people, but I think one day when you turn back, there will be a specific few that you can name.
I love that. Thank you. Because we always think about mentorship as the one person and you have to absorb everything. But everywhere there are pockets of excellence that you can bring
100%.
in. So thank you for that. Brett, since we are a family at Blue Label, you guys are still young, so obviously you're not going to retire anytime soon. I mean, being in your 30s and all.
I'm 52. I'm an old dog already.
Is the company going to be left to the children, or?
In their eyes, I can tell you there's rivalry coming for the CEO position. In our eyes, there would be, as any father and anyone who builds businesses, I think there's no greater joy in life than if one day your kids could take the reins. So, yeah, I think Blue Label around forever, and the
Not us two.
the Levy boys and girls running the show in one form or another would be absolutely heartwarming.
What are the secrets for success for each of you individually? What is your secret?
I'll start. My secret is your question, actually, which was the balance question. There's so many different versions of the secret of success, but for me, the ultimate secret of the success is balance in my family, work, and religion. I think when you balance those three, everything will be okay in the end. When you don't balance those three, there's tough times ahead.
Thank you.
Yeah, look, balance is paramount to happiness, to wealth, to everything. Too much of anything is going to cause imbalance. But I think the secret is the ability to get up when you're knocked down. Not to have that inherent fear of failure. Everyone's, scared of failure, but you've got to be prepared to fail to succeed. And I think that's if I could give any learnings, so many people don't start because they start with what if I fail, or what if I don't work. Start, try, fail, reload, Groundhog Day. Get up, start, balance your life and keep going, because you will get it right. You have to have that belief in your soul that you can make a difference.
Yeah. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Voices of Innovation. It's a wrap from us. Until next time, bye.